Wow, look at this space. Look at the light space. Hey, what's going on? My name is Sam Corbel, the founder of Light-Eye, where we empower light ideas. And today, we've transformed this entire space into something special for you, a creative, interactive, and immersive environment, so that you can get a first-hand look of what everything looks like in this space. Believe it or not, we've transformed everything in here. We've installed a variety of UVC technology products so that we can show you what Acuity Brands has been up to. And we've got a couple A-list celebrities to join the fun too. This event has been curated specifically for you. Two quick things before we get started. Click that little wheel down there. Make sure you're streaming in 1080p. It looks good in here, and we want to make sure it looks good for you too. Second, we'll be wrapped up here in about 20 minutes, and a Q&A will follow. So type in any questions you have in the chat right over there on the right. We'll get your answers to you right away. If you need to head out, I totally understand, but stick around till the end if you can. Are you ready? Because it's showtime. In 2021, lighting is so much more than just lighting the space. There's technology packed into it. It's more than an opportunity to just design. And Acuity Brands has your back. Think about what they did with the distributed end light control system. They've taken that exact same approach to the modern technology in UVC lighting. People all around the world want to get back to a normal life. In order to do this, we need to feel safe. We need to feel safe sending our kids back to school, safe in public spaces, and safe at work. Businesses are ready to open their doors again and be profitable. To help them, the perceived risk of exposure to things like COVID-19 needs to be eliminated. We need to prepare the future because this isn't the last time a pandemic could happen. Plus, aren't you ready to get back to a more normal life? Aren't you ready to send those kids back to school, to have a night out on the town? That's what we're all working towards here, reassuring the safety and cleanliness of every space, no matter where it's at. This is our chance to do something more than just design and save energy. This is our chance to help make people feel safe. Let's learn a little bit more about what Acuity has been working on with their VP of Technology and Commercialization, Gary Trutt. Hey Gary, how's it going over there? Talk to us a little bit more about what you've been up to.
Thank you, Sam. I am ready to get back to a more normal way of life, and so is the entire team at Acuity Brands. But most of all, I know that you want to also. UV technology puts people first in a whole new way. We have spent over 3 years studying how to apply the latest science to a portfolio of luminaires that scales and creates a modern approach to control pathogens in spaces with light. The science behind UV disinfection technology has been around for over 100 years. There has been a significant amount of independent research completed from several institutions from around the world. They verified in a laboratory testing that UV light can inactivate viruses and bacteria like influenza, MRSA, and SARS-CoV-2. As people enter the built environment, they often congregate locally in a room for an extended period of time. So it makes sense to treat with a local approach frequently and often where pathogens are introduced and not at a central location. Luckily for us, luminaires are deployed and controlled locally throughout a building, making them an ideal place to integrate UV disinfection technology. Luminaires are also something people expect to see in a space, making it more likely for them to embrace the technology that's incorporated into them. In some cases, they let you play offense and treat spaces continually while people are present, as opposed to being on the defense and cleaning after people exit and potentially leave pathogens behind. Hey Sam, I know you're a lighting geek. Can you tell everybody about the power of UV light?
I got you, Gary. Happy to talk a little bit more about the power of light. I mean, the power of light makes sense to you, doesn't it? Just think about whether or not we have electric light in a space or we've got sunlight or daylight outside. Whether it's visible or invisible light, light makes a difference. When it comes to that invisible light, UVC light covers a broad range of wavelengths from 200 to 280 nanometers. Most wavelengths can and will penetrate the uppermost layers of your skin or your eyes, so it has to be used appropriately. However, there's a very specific set of wavelengths that are actually safe for humans. More on that in a minute. UV light should be designed, calculated, and implemented carefully in a space as it can affect people as well as pathogen reduction overall. The reality is, anywhere people are under a roof is a breeding ground for pathogens. And the faster space can be treated, the safer it becomes. Think about it like a blizzard. When blizzard winds come in as a snowstorm, disinfection solutions integrated into HVAC systems exist, but they mix air from multiple spaces, kind of without rhyme or reason. Compare that to luminaires that go on the offense with a local approach, isolating the problem in that snow globe to a single room, like this, treating spaces faster and more efficiently. Mechanical chemical cleaning is also a way to disinfect spaces, but it requires every surface to be adequately treated. The reality is the best disinfection system encourages these systems to work together, just like what we've deployed here in the light space. No two spaces or designs are the same. So Acuity has created a family of products that they like to call the modern approach for UV disinfection technology that will work in a variety of applications. This includes their flagship solution, CARE 222, UV modules that integrate directly into existing luminaires. There's also onboard air and PulseX. This potential to use the narrowband far UVC spectrum in occupied spaces was made viable and patented by Dr. David Brenner at Columbia University. Ushio then licensed this IP from Columbia and built a specific excimer lamp that is the basis for CARE 222. You're probably wondering, why 222 though? Well, it's simple. It doesn't penetrate the living tissue on human skin or eyes. And as an added bonus, there's minimal effects when it comes to material degradation. CARE 222 can run continually, delivering UV light in a predetermined dose for a few seconds every so often. You know, on for a little bit, off for a little bit. It's safe for humans to be around, just like me. It's on in the space. And seamless to install because the CARE 222 module is integrated directly into the luminaire. It's pretty slick. I think it looks kind of spiffy. I tell you what, I'll let Gary walk you through a few more details. Back to you over there in Slat City, Gary.
This technology is so amazing, it just flies through the air. I mean, look at this. It is far more though than just integrating a lamp into a luminaire. This entire module was very specifically designed to make it easy to integrate into many different luminaires. That's why we created these architectural healthcare lighting downlights and cylinders, which you can see over my head. What we have installed are 4-inch cylinders. We have a smaller and a larger version, and there's also a 4-inch downlight and retrofit and for new construction. And these are great for new construction or retrofit where you have those spaces that need local disinfection. Why don't you come on over with me to the workbench so we can learn more. Here's the module, and the first thing that you want to know is that this lens is very special. It has a filter that filters out the potentially dangerous wavelengths above 222 nanometers. Also, within this enclosure are all the patent pending electronics that give it the dosing control that make sure it stays within safety guidelines. It was also designed so it could easily be integrated into something like this cylinder, which you can see is very clean, very minimal, and does a great job of integrating into architecture and giving you a solution for local disinfection. So you're probably wondering, can I get this with white light and disinfection together? The answer is absolutely. And what we have installed over our head are Gotham downlights and cylinders that include both the disinfection technology and the white light technology. When you look at one of these downlights from a distance, you wouldn't even know what a special downlight it was because it's doing its job and disappearing into the space. There are a lot of downlights in the space, but guess what is everywhere? That's right, troffers. That's why we decided to integrate this technology into the Mark Whisper and the Lithonia Lighting BLT, because this is going to allow us to go big and have solutions for offices, healthcare facilities, and schools. Each of them is available with a 2x2 or a 2x4, a single disinfection module or a double disinfection module, and all of the typical options and control solutions that you're looking for. The team worked really hard to seamlessly integrate this into the Mark Whisper and the BLT. If you come over the workbench, I want to show you how we did this. You know, it's so exciting, this technology, I can't wait to get it out there. And one of the key things about it is that we want to make it very approachable. We wanted to make it so that when people saw this, it didn't seem like something alien. And so you can see here, this really looks like a standard Mark Whisper, but it just has these small little openings, really cleanly done. With all these products, there is an effective range that aligns with the typical layout of these products, like a 10 by 10 spacing. And so what that means is that by integrating this technology into the Mark Whisper, the Lithonia Lighting BLT, and Gotham products, it gives us the ability to scale this technology with just a check on a spec sheet. That's pretty amazing stuff, isn't it, Sam?
Thanks for the details, Gary. With all the Care 222 solutions, the Exmer lamp itself is pre-programmed to continually operate. It delivers a safe dose to treat the surfaces underneath it. And don't forget, controlling it is as simple as never turning it off. It just works. The best place to use this is anywhere people will be often or all the time. Let's talk about onboard air. It's another key solution that works safely when occupants are in the space. The main differentiator from Care 222 is that it actually hides up in the ceiling, and it treats the air locally in a confined space. Upper room air disinfection systems have been in use for decades, but they require a sufficient ceiling height. For additional safety, onboard air is good for lower ceiling applications, where you might want to conceal that UV light source, limiting reflected light. And not to mention, you can prevent material degradation with this too. There's a strategic partnership with UV Angel that gives Acuity a turnkey solution here. It doesn't need any controls and can also run continuously. Tommy's over on the workbench. Tommy, walk us through what this thing's like.
Hey guys, onboard air disinfection is a modern approach to upper room air disinfection. Traditionally, you would need things like ceiling fans and other mechanical equipment to help move disinfected air down to where the people are. Now, with our onboard solution, all of the disinfection happens right inside this self-contained unit. But what's a really important feature is this LED indicator light that's going to allow a maintenance person or facilities person to know if the fixture is operating or if it needs to be serviced. Now, taking a look on the inside, there are a few fail-safes incorporated into the fixture just to prevent someone from being exposed to a 254 nanometer UVC lamp. Now, what's really happening in this unit is air is actively being brought into this box. And what's going to happen is the air passes right through this replaceable filter, the air pulls it into the chamber, then the air passes over a 254 nanometer mercury vapor UVC lamp. The treated air flows through here and is actively expelled back into the room. And it only takes about 0.7 seconds for the air to be brought into the unit and then expelled. Being that all the disinfection happens right inside the box, if you run into a client or a project where there's concern that there's going to be degradation of materials, this is a strong solution for that area because all of the disinfection happens right inside this box. Now you can easily take this unit and integrate it right into a 2x4 grid ceiling. There's surface mount options, there's suspended versions, and then there's even a solution for hard ceilings as well. That's really about it, Sam. What do you think?
If anything's self-explanatory, it's this. It's like putting IKEA furniture together at home. Think about places where people would congregate, and you'd want to circulate air between two individuals as fast as possible. Who's excited to be in a clean space? You know, one that's not your living room, where you're more than half dressed for the day. Guys, hang in there with me. We're almost there. If you think about Care 222 and onboard air as the active approaches that are gentle, and they maybe drizzle a little rain shower in the space, this last technology is a thunderstorm. Check out PulseX. Don't be deceived by the small form factor of this. The integral gas lamp powered by Violet Defense technology is powerful. While it's not safe for humans to be in direct contact with, the light acts fast. Tommy's refreshed the workbench, and he's going to share a few more details with you.
Powered by Violet Defense technology, a single PulseX module can disinfect a 10 by 10 coverage area, or a dual PulseX module can disinfect a 12 by 12 coverage area. There's 3 safety protection features, including an integrated occupancy sensor that's going to help prevent someone from being exposed to the unit during its cycle. There's also an indicator light that will let a facilities person know if it's ready to start its cycle, if the cycle has completed as expected, or if motion or a technical issue was detected. I'll tell you what, let's clear the room and take a look at this thunderstorm. We're moving out.
Back to reality though. Let's talk about all 3 of these technologies and how they work together. In theory, you could have 1, 2, or all 3 of them working in a single space, depending on what the needs are. Key areas we know that can benefit from the most are ones that rely on people being there, like schools, offices, retail, manufacturing, anywhere people are, or ones that need ongoing pathogen control. Think about every single healthcare application out there. There are several additional areas that the UVC portfolio of products from Acuity can also make an impact. Office spaces, K through 12, higher education, and of course, all of those healthcare common areas. Mixing and matching, using 1, 2, or 3 to make it what it needs to be, a safe space where people feel comfortable. In order to design all this, you need a tool, right? The visual software is premier for designing applications for Care 222 based solutions right alongside your ambient lighting solutions. The capabilities and visual to design applications for PulseX and onboard air are coming on the way. Understanding how many of each unit and where they should be located doesn't have to be a guessing game. The ability to take advantage of UVGI planning capabilities in visual will be offered through the Design Application Services team at Acuity Brands to start. They'll provide layouts, including detailed assessment of pathogen inactivation, and basically they'll take it from there for you. Let's check in with Tommy again. He is your go-to guy for all the UV technology after all. Hey Tommy, take it away.
So listen, we all know that my phone's ringing off the hook constantly, but please let me know how myself and my team can help support you folks. And really, that's all we got today, folks. But Sam, is there anything left?
There's a lot of good news here, but the good news is we've created a few additional assets for you. You know, videos. These break down the overall concept of Acuity Brand's modern approach and each specific technology, Care 222, onboard air, and PulseX. You can use these to refresh over time, but more importantly, share this story anytime, anywhere, in just 4 minutes. Take a deep breath. That was a lot, wasn't it? I tell you what, I'm gonna grab some water real quick. We're gonna gather up your questions and I'll meet you back over there in Woodslat City and we'll get them all answered. 30 seconds, time me. Ready, go. All right, guys, that was fun, wasn't it? Sometimes you just talk so much, you know, gotta have some fresh Voss water. It's really fun. I appreciate everybody joining us on, I'm sure, what feels like any day of the week, even though it is Tuesday. If you have any questions, do us a favor, type them in right now. Put them in that chat box, because I have some good news for you. I actually have all of Acuity brands right here on this iPad. The entire company. No, I'm just kidding. But what I do have is I have all the product managers, pretty much everybody that's worked on this project for the entirety of 3+ years to get all this to the point where it's at. So you can type in any questions you have. They're monitoring all this, and we're gonna do our best to get you every single answer we can right now. If we can't, we'll be sure to follow up with you afterwards. If you need to head out, totally understand. If you want, just stick around, hang out with us. We'll answer what we can. We do have a camera over here, so if you want to see anything in the studio, up in the ceiling again, just let us know. And one other thing, before we get to all these questions, which I see a few are coming in, so thanks for those questions. Make sure that you follow Acuity on social media, you know? Go to your Instagram, go to your Twitter, follow LightEye too while you're at it. We want to do our best to bring you as much information as we can. We've got more videos on the way. Those will all be up on the YouTube page later tomorrow after we do this event one more time. For all your friends that you want to bring back, that's right, we're doing this again tomorrow at 4 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. That's 5 p.m. Central Time, 6 p.m. Eastern, and of course, 3 o'clock on the West Coast, the best coast. Am I allowed to say that? I don't know. I always like the West Coast. I've got family back there. Anyhow, keep an eye out for that. Let's dive into your guys' questions. We did this last week, actually, just exclusively for the Acuity agents to give them a sneak peek to all of this. And there were a couple questions that came in that I just want to make sure we capture here and address with you, the community who's here watching it live today. The first question was based around availability. So the onboard air units, that self-contained unit, that's a 2x4, along with the PulseX single and dual unit modules, those are available today. They're on the website. You can get part numbers, you can download spec sheets, and I've actually been told orders have already been placed and can start shipping, well, you know, immediately. So that's the good news. When it comes to Care 222, this is a heck of a technology. There's a lot of work that's gone into this, and Acuity worked hand in hand with UL to bring that to life. They're currently working with the Canadian authorities to get this all approved so that we can ship it up north of the border. But there's going to be a couple stages, so I don't want to get this wrong for you guys. Let me make sure that I articulate exactly what's going on here. The BLT and the healthcare lighting products, those spec sheets are going to be available at the end of this month. That's right, it's April. Happy April, by the way. And then things will be available to ship sometime in May. So again, that's the BLT, that's the economical troffer that Acuity Brands offers. You can get that in a single or dual module with a 2x2 or a 2x4 form factor. And then that healthcare cylinder, which is that nice compact 4-inch surface mount or pendant mount. And then there's an accompanying downlight that's also recessed for new construction and retrofit. 4 inches, dedicated module, good stuff. Following that, you're gonna get that hybrid solution from Gotham, which is that killer 6-inch diameter piece that has both white light and a UV module integrated into it. That's recessed and available as a surface and pendant mount, and a nice, you know, larger cylinder. And then the Mark Whisper, which is the architectural looking troffer that we showed you earlier. That's available in a 2x2 and a 2x4 as well, with a single or dual module. Whether you want to use that single or dual module is really going to be up to your space requirements, how much disinfection you need, what the spacing is. But remember, they've got their visual software, and their internal team at Acuity can help guide you through that and create a design that's going to meet the needs of your space. One other question that came in about PulseX in the modules. Obviously, we've got a single and a dual module. And the question was, well, if the dual module only covers about 20% more area, what's the point? Which is a great question. It's all about intensity. Every single pathogen has its own buildup, right? There's a different RNA and DNA sequence in there, And some of them are a little bit tougher than others. So for instance, SARS-CoV-2, COVID-19, the one we're all dealing with right now, that can actually be inactivated with a lower energy. But something like MRSA takes a lot more intensity. So using a dual module, generally speaking, is going to be able to up the intensity to make sure that disinfection happens as fast as possible in a safe space. Remember, you don't want to be in the room when that stuff is going off. Let's keep going down the list here. So we had one question that was related to the ceiling height for the limitations of CARE 222. This is a great question, and essentially everything is designed around how we use troughs today, which is at a typical ceiling height of 9 feet above the finished floor. Visual will help you explore the opportunities if that ceiling is lower or higher. You can work with Acuity directly, and they'll help you understand if you need to adjust your spacing. But overall, the disinfection is designed around using CARE 222 in 9-foot ceilings with the recessed troughers. All right, we've got a question here from William, and the question was, how long can you guarantee that the module will maintain 222 nanometers? Because he has an understanding that any slight variation in 222 can actually encourage behavioral growth and not hinder it. William, thank you for your question. There's a lot to answer here, and let me make sure that I get to as much of it as we can for you. The krypton chlorine discharge, it has a stable emission, and the native spectral power distribution of the krypton chlorine excimer lamp is a narrow band emission that's centered around 222 nanometers. The native spectrum has a tail with an output in higher wavelengths, including 254 and 257, both of which are wavelengths that will penetrate the stratum communum and through the tear layer on the eyes. So the addition of a short pass filter on that excimer lamp actually physically removes all the emissions above 230 nanometers and eliminates the wavelengths altogether, which is what that higher exposure risk is. With the filter, there's no presence of wavelengths that can penetrate into layers of the living skin cells, and that's really where it comes into play, because that's critical. So let me just grab that for you real quick. Remember, this unit is a self-contained unit. This is the electronics, and this is the lamp itself, but there's a filter on this lamp. That's right, there's a physical filter across the excimer lamp that's limiting anything above 230 nanometers. Hopefully that answers your question. We got another question coming in, and the question was, how does the owner know when the 222 is no longer being produced? On that module, right here, it's hard to see on this, but we can, if you recall earlier, we were looking at the modules. There's an indicator light, and that indicator light has different codes, basically to flash green or red, to tell you whether or not the module is still in use or it's aired out and it needs to be looked in or serviced. Got a question from Victor. Thanks for your question, Victor. What is the lifetime of the CARE 222 when operated 24/7? This is a great question, and I just want to reiterate one thing. These excimer lamps, these self-contained CARE 222 units, operate continually. Not continuously, but continually. Continuously would imply that it's literally on all the time. What we have is continuous power to the unit itself, but the lamp operates continually, meaning it's on for a certain period of time and then off again for a certain period of time. Running power continuously to operate the 222 module continually has a 5-year rated life right now. We got another question coming in from Stuart. Stuart wants to know, what about rooms with shadows created by furniture, etc.? Stuart, great question. Light has to hit the surface to work. So just like normal light, if you have CARE 222 or Pulse X coming down into the space, whatever surface it hits is the surface that it's going to treat. If something is in shadow, obviously the light is not getting to it. So you want to think about that in your layout systems too. I will point out that the Pulse X modules can be mounted both on vertical surfaces as well as up in the ceiling. So that's something to consider, you know, like getting underneath a hospital bed or something like that. I've got another question coming in from Jim, and he's wondering, is there any data on extended exposure to UVC for patients remaining in a hospital room? Jim, in terms of what Acuity has the ability to present with you today, the Care 2.2 modules are designed for 24/7 operation, and they're within the ACGIH guidelines, meaning these are designed to operate continuously, and they're within that set of guidelines, so they're appropriate for people to be under 24/7. That's with the Care 2.2 modules. There's so many twos in it, right? It's like Care 222, Care 2.2. Anyways, you guys get what I'm saying. It's 3 twos, not 2 twos, not 4 twos, 3 twos. I got another question coming in, and the question was, why not use 222 for the air treatment system as well? Great question. The 222 filter light that comes through that excimer lamp is actually treating everything it comes in contact with. So if there are airborne pathogens, anything within the quote-unquote beam, which is a nice wide beam, is actually being treated along with everything on the surface. The onboard air disinfection system, which is self-contained up in the room, has an ability to circulate the air through. So what it can do is, right, it can create airflow in the space as well. If you remember earlier, we talked about how using 1, 2, or all 3Ds actually might make sense, and you want to combine that with mechanical chemical cleaning as well. So just think about having Care 2.2 and onboard air in the space. That's going to give you the most reassurance. We've got a question from Vinette, and the question is there any material degradation from the 222 nanometers considering that a filter is used? To answer your question, there's a very, very, very small amount of material degradation with 222. This is kind of like saying, you know, it's 99.9% effective. It does a really good job of filtering out all that harmful UV light. If you think about it, you know, the fact that it can only strike and penetrate just those top 2 layers of our skin, which are the dead cells, this gives you an opportunity to really have minimal effects when it comes to material degradation. That's with Care 222. I got another question coming in. Victor was wondering if we could comment on the ACGIH TLVs and the NICs. The NIC. The NIC was published in December of 2020. This included raising limits for 222 nanometers and creating different limits for the skin and the eyes. The changes are currently under review, and Acuity Brands expects the final TLVs to be published later this year in 2021. Hopefully that gives you a little bit of perspective of what's going on. If you want more information on that, please feel free to email us at Lide or hit up Tommy. His email address was up there earlier. You can actually, if you guys don't know this, you can rewind back in the live stream. You can watch this again. Basically turns itself into the coolest YouTube video ever. Did I really say ever? Okay, maybe not ever, but it's a fun video. Got another question coming in. The temperature, what temperature does the Care 2.2 module run at, and does it heat up the space? To answer your question, no. A very small amount of power and a very small amount of heat is used to actually operate the Care 2.2 module, so you don't have to worry about that. Victor, you've got some good questions, by the way. Thanks for diving in and asking all these. I'm glad we can get you hopefully most of the answers you're looking for right now. Brittany was curious, is there a backup system for motion detectors and timing hardware? A local school system here, she said, a local school system just spent $12 million on UV lights. Wow, that's a lot of money on UV lighting. They failed and turned on when they shouldn't have. Wow, first of all, I'm sorry to hear that, Brittany. I'm sorry to hear that for the school. Obviously, part of lighting is making sure that we control it. I can tell you from firsthand experience, Acuity cares about what they're doing, and they want to make sure that they have all their boxes checked. Controls is a very big part of what they're doing. To answer your question in a little bit more depth, there's an Nlight system that can provide two types of sensing technology, PIR and microphonics, via external sensors to support minor motion detection, as well as broadcasting occupancy status to all the PulseX luminaires. It ensures that luminaires are deactivated once there's motion detected. So if you recall, we showed you those PulseX systems earlier. There's an integrated sensor straight into that with an indicator light sitting next to it. A required redundant layer of control is available, and as I mentioned, is required with Acuity brands, and they offer that through their control system, which is Nlight. Nlight has the ability to put sensors, power packs. They have both microphonic and PIR. Microphonic is their patented technology where it listens, so it can hear people washing their hands, hear people typing on keyboards, maybe hear a vacuum in the distance, and does a nice job of picking up as much noise as possible. And you can take that sensor and through their programming logic, apply a command to a power pack, or essentially a relay switch that controls everything downstream of it. So even if the PulseX module itself is not sensing motion, but let's say that's because it's down a hallway and somebody's walking down the hallway, you could have a sensor via Nlight tied in with a wireless system that's 300 feet away that says, hey, everything in the hallway, turn off, there's one person in here and we don't want to create any disruption. Hopefully that helps you answer. I know Colin at Acuity Brands would love to talk to you more. Tommy can help you get in touch with them if you have any questions. Any more questions past that? Let's see, what else do we have? We've got a couple questions from Hans, and he was wondering, what's the main difference between the BLT and the Whisper units? Hans, this is a great question, and I'm happy to answer it for you. If you want, I can actually just switch over to my room cam real quick, and I can show you what it looks like. Give me one sec. So this is the Whisper right here. You can actually see that that Care22 module is on right now. It looks pretty awesome, doesn't it? You can see it's got a more architecturally defined unit. Let me just adjust the exposure on the camera here real quick, actually. You can see how there's those side rails on the Whisper itself. And what that does is it gives it a glow on the top with a glow in the middle, and the whole system is essentially backlit with a center glow. If we look over here at the BLT just has that center luminous environment. You can see on either side of it, it's just a piece of highly reflective metal that's powder coated to help take all the white light and put it into the space. These both do have the dual modules. I'm just sitting here waiting to see if that dosing circuit will kick back on to show you guys what it looks like one more time. It's pretty fun when it comes on. But while these are dual modules, you don't have to have dual modules. You can actually also have single modules. There's another question from Hans about what the main difference between the HDM versus the EVO units are. So looking at those healthcare units, the self-contained cylinders, those are disinfection only. It's a 4-inch form factor, and that 4-inch form factor is just big enough to fit that Care222 module in it. The Gotham EVO system is 6 inches, and it has a white light source integrated into it, and then the module sits into it. They did a nice job of trying to tuck all that back up into an aperture with a nice regress. So when you look at it, you just see the cone, and it just feels like a regular downlight. And then when you walk underneath it and look straight up, you actually see the 222 module. So it's a little bit of magic, but hopefully that answers your question. One's dedicated and one is a hybrid solution. All right, what other questions do we have coming in here? Let's see. I want to actually go back to one that that was asked last week that I wanted to quickly address as well, with the onboard air system. That's that recessed 2x4. Acuity has the ability to offer you both replacement 254 nanometer lamps and filters for that. Those do need to be maintained over time. And on their spec sheet, they've got independent part numbers for them, so you can work through your local distributor, your local rep, and you can procure those as you need. Hopefully that's a helpful, just small tidbit of information. By the way, are you guys having fun? Having a blast. I mean, we're talking about how we're gonna make spaces safe. It's a great thing, isn't it? Let's see, what other questions do we have coming in here? All right, we got a question, one more about does EVO with Care 222 disinfect air and surfaces? How many square feet does each BLT, Whisper, and EVO unit cover? This is again from Hans. Thank you for your questions. To answer your question, yes, the systems treat both surfaces and air within the beam, although coverage depends on the specific pathogen that you're trying to target. 100 square foot area is a good rule of thumb for the downlights and troughers with a single module. So again, that's assuming a 9-foot ceiling height. A single module covers about 100 square feet with that Care 222 module. If you put two of those next to each other, what you're doing is you're not doubling the square footage, rather you're increasing the intensity. So you don't necessarily need to have double modules, because it's all going to depend on which pathogen you're trying to inactivate. Obviously, COVID is a big thing right now, but guys, this solution is going to work for so many more things than just the current pandemic we're in. I mean, think about how we can just continually keep spaces cleaner over time. Be sure to dive in with Acuity and Visual. You can mock this up. They have, not mock it up, you can literally calculate it, because they have data on each pathogen, you know, what the intensity is, how much of it's in the space, and give you some data behind how much this has to run, what the spacing needs to be like in order to inactivate everything. I got one more question coming in on how quickly does the BLT disinfect and to what level? Victor is asking, and you know, this is around the claims of 99%, 99.9%. Victor, Acuity wants to let you know that he said, please reach out to one of our Acuity UV experts and we can help you with their space to provide the calculations. Yeah. Essentially, what's important is, you know, we can tell you that there's a 3-log kill on this. We can tell you that it works, but that's a blanket statement, and that's only if the system is designed appropriately. So the best thing to do is to reach out and get in contact with Tommy or anybody else at Acuity Brands. You can hit me up too. I'll make sure we get you to the right person and really help you understand how this works for the spaces you're designing in. All right, what other questions do we have coming in here? We have one on the parameters. What parameters are set for the module in 222 nanometers? When does it switch off? Does it take into account the number of people in a space? This is a great question. The Care 222 module dosing control system is what controls the unit. You actually want that Care 222 part in the luminaire to be powered on all the time. It only switches off power to the units, and you're not necessarily going to use, if you're not going to use the space for an extended period of time. So the Care 222 module is set to be pre-programmed, meaning there's a dosing circuit and it leaves the factory that way. What Acuity can do is they can take that dosing circuit, they can figure out what's going on in the space, and they can help you design the appropriate system based around how many people might be in your space, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It is not a dynamic system, to answer your question. I got another question. Is Nlight Air available for use with the Pulse X? Colin, our controls expert at Acuity, has chimed in for this one, and he wanted to let you know that currently only an Nlight wired solution is available for use with the Pulse X. I think I might have said wireless earlier. That's my mistake. I'm sorry about that. But currently, in order to have that redundant control system in place for Pulse X, you have to use a wired Nlight system. All right, what other questions do we have coming in here? There's a question about Care 222. Lots of good questions on Care 222, guys. This is a great technology. What is the on time for Care 222 in an hour? The on time is going to vary depending on the mounting height. The unit lamp turns on approximately 5 times per hour. So that dosing circuit will be set at the factory based on your needs for the space. Hopefully that helps. It's on for, I believe the ones in our space we have on for about 6 seconds at a time. I'm just looking around. I've got these 2 cylinders above my head. I love showing them to you guys when they turn on. We talked a little bit about earlier, they glow purple when they turn on. There's no purple light that comes into the space. It doesn't, turn your whole room into like a black light party or anything like that. It does just glow purple, which is really cool because it gives everybody a visual indicator in the space that the system is working and that disinfection is active. It's something that's important. Now, obviously, you don't want people to get confused about what's safe and what's not, so it's important to let people know, hey, this is a Care 222 technology. This is safe. This is something that people can be around. This is something that is okay because it's that filtered excimer lamp. Got a couple more questions coming in here. Let's see. What safety concerns need to be considered if the krypton chloride gas comes out from a lamp breakage, so to speak? What happened with mercury bulbs, mercury in fluorescent tubes and things like that? Does certain care need to be taken to dispose of these krypton chloride excimer lamps specifically? To answer your question, this is coming from Ron, who's one of the product development engineers for the entire portfolio of products. There's a very small amount of gas in the lamp itself. The units are designed to be disposed of via normal recycling. It's essentially just glass and plastic, so you can put this in your recycling bin. What other questions? Guys, these are great questions. Thank you so much for bringing them all to the table today. Thank you for tuning in. I really hope that this has been helpful for you. As I mentioned, we are going to do this one more time for you tomorrow at 4 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. That's 5 Central, 6 Eastern, and 3 Pacific on the West Coast. So if you want to tune in again, you have any more questions, feel free to come on back. If you want to bring anyone along with you or share the link, you can share it with them as well. This live stream itself is obviously being recorded, and we'll post it. So you're more than welcome to come back and reference this or share it just like you would any video at the click of a button with your peers, with people who are interested in learning more about this. And don't forget, if you have questions that you don't get to ask today or tomorrow, Acuity Brands is here to help you. You can also reach out directly to Light-Eye. The best way to get hold of us is across every single social media platform. Send us a message, DM us, comment in the comments. We make sure that everything gets to where it needs to go because our goal is not only to tell you stories, but to make sure that you understand, what it is you need to do and get answers to your questions. All right, let's see if we've got any other questions. Looks like we've got one last one coming in. Is the 222 excimer lamp on the independent? Is the 222 excimer lamp independent of the normal light fixtures? If you turn out the lights for a presentation, does the 222 go off as well? Great question. The best thing you can do is feed these lights, these hybrid solutions, so the Gotham Evo that has white light and 222 modules in it, or the 2x2 system and the Whisper or the BLT. One circuit goes to the Care 222 modules, one circuit goes to the white light. Obviously your white light can run through any control system like N-Light. It can have a dimming power pack on it. It can dim up and down. You can switch it off, do whatever you need to do, but you're just running hot power straight to the 222 modules the entire time. If you do run one circuit, which is not recommended, which is really not the way you should install it, rather you should let that run continually because it does have that 5-year lamp life, you're gonna have the best results. Guys, I think we're about out of time. Mostly I know everybody's busy. We all need to get back to work. I hope that we've gotten all of your questions answered. I want to thank you for joining us here in the Light Space, where it's our goal to share stories with you. It's our goal to talk to you a little bit more about lighting, educate you, and give you a chance to, to learn, to have some fun and what we like to call an interactive an immersive environment. Make sure you stay tuned. We'll share more information around lighting along the way. If you have any extra time and you want to continue to learn, head on over to Acuity Brand's website and hit /UV disinfection, because over there is a whole boatload of FAQs that they've prepared that answers probably about 50% of the questions that are on here, along with some more FAQs that you may have not thought of yet, but they can walk you through. We're gonna have more videos to help educate you on this stuff, and also to tell this story and share it with your peers. So be sure to stay tuned to our digital presence. Be sure to head over to the FAQ page and keep your eyes out, for Care 222 modules. They're gonna start showing up in spaces and places to give people an opportunity to get back to a more normal way of life. On behalf of everybody at Acuity Brands and the whole team here at Light, I thank you so much for joining us today. It's been great to be with you. I see you on the other side of that camera. Take care, guys. I'll see you soon.